Just hours from now, Hurricane Gustav is expected to charge at the Gulf Coast. For several days, people have been warned to flee cities like New Orleans, who suffered great loss and tragedy just 3 years earlier from Hurricane Katrina. And I'm sure someone said, "Here we go again." When tragedies come in our lives, we often search for reasons. We search for something that will give value to our misfortune. We search for something that will ease our wandering minds about the great loss we endure. And often we search for these answers in the great unknown, God. Now, when Katrina happened, I listened to many preachers try to give a theological explanation for why Katrina happened to New Orleans. Many of these preachers' explanation made me ashamed of their insensitivity and their ignorance. Some said that Katrina was judgment upon New Orleans, a city that they compared to Sodom and Gomorrah. Some said it was God's way of talking to the United States, a country whom they believe had turned away from God. The truth of the matter is that hurricanes happen all the time. In fact, there are several hurricanes besides Gustav that are being formed or have already formed. Some of these hurricanes will hit land on a regular basis. But let's forget about the hurricanes for a minute. What about earthquakes? What about tornadoes? Are these always instruments of God's judgment? Now, I don't believe that Hurricane Katrina or that Gustav is a way of God judging the city of New Orleans. I believe that life happens. And whether we want to believe it or not, hurricanes are a part of life. God never promised that He would keep us away from hurricanes. God's protection does not include a no-death clause. But what God did promise is that God would be with us always. Even in the midst of the storm, God is with us. Even when we lose loved ones to tragedy, God is with us. And even when life sends devastation, God is with us. For all those who are in the path of Hurricane Gustav, and to those who are in the path of hurricane life, my word of encouragement today is together. God wants to face the hurricane with you. Together, you and God can pick up the pieces left by the devastation and build you a new life. Together, you and God can identify new lessons and new understandings that will help you better prepare for the hurricanes to come. Together, you and God can make your history a story of triumph over destruction. Together, you and God can make the tragedies of life your heroics of living. My prayers are for those who are in the path of Hurricane Gustav, and for those who have fled to safety in other cities, and for those who are showing hospitality to those affected by this hurricane. God is not punishing you. Life is just happening. But God will be with you always, together. This is Apostle Bird, Senior Pastor and Founder of the Living Faith Covenant Church in Dallas, Texas, bringing you a word of encouragement.